Welcome to another episode of The GYST. Because as you know, when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, sometimes you just need a moment to get your shit together. And so do we. Welcome. I'm your host, Kay Bellamy, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Valerie Cannon and Stephanie Hamilton. We are here, and tonight we have our guest back. Uh, Let me get her in here. We have our guest back, Tia Lyles Williams, and we are so happy to have you here once again. Welcome back to the GYST, girl.
Thank you,
Hey, Tia.
What up, Val? What up, Steph? What up,
What's up, honey? So before we get started on our topic, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge Simone Biles, and all I can say is hashtag We Rock With You, girl. Seriously, because we all could learn something from her making such a powerful and impactful decision at a young age like that to actually put her self-care first, her mental health first. Like we could learn so much from her just making that one decision. We could learn just every day when we are going through our own stuff and we don't pause, we keep pushing, we keep going, and we sometimes just don't know when to stop. But she today, I think for a lot of people, she is our hero. Seriously, for making such a decision. So again, we rock with you, honey, and you are probably nowhere near watching this, but I just want you to know in your heart that a lot of people support the decision you made to step away when you needed to step away. So that was a powerful statement. So now on to the topic at hand, the Delta virus. Now let me just say this. Somebody need to get their shit together. Like seriously. Somebody need to get their shit together. Because listen, we spent 2 years behind masks, behind doors, getting vaccines, getting cotton swabs stuck up our noses, to get tested. Like, I can't even fathom the thought of having to go back to living that life. And I'm sure a lot of people can't fathom the thought of going back to living that life either. So, for those of you watching, Tia Lyles Williams is definitely a biotech executive. She's the owner of LucasPye BIO, and she knows who needs to get their shit together. So she gonna help us understand who it is that needs to get their shit together so that we don't have to go back to this foolishness again. But, after all of that, so did we really know that this wasn't done? COVID was not done. Did we really know that? Or were we just kind of sitting back saying, we're going to come again before they even announced the Delta variant? Did we just take for granted that it was a wrap and it was over?
Maybe the general public did, but definitely not the federal government or the scientists involved in making these vaccines. If you look at any old press that I did back in 2020 when this thing was first publicly announced, I said it the whole time, guys, this is not over. It will not end when they develop the vaccine. I even got an article on Medium about it, on my Medium account. But I stated that this vaccine was a temporary fix because the virus can change. It will change. We are not faster than a virus. So even if with U.S. buying up all the vaccine, as you can see, it's still our individual choice to take the vaccine. So it's two parties that need to get their shit together. Three parties need to get their shit together. It's the scientists and the companies with the vaccines. It's the federal government being more transparent that this was not over and stop trying to pretend that it was going to be over once the vaccine came out. And then it is the healthy individuals that have nothing wrong with them or have received permission from their doctor to take the vaccine, and they're still refusing the vaccine. Three people, all those parties need to get their shit together.
So we are on pins and needles right now as a result of this Delta variant just coming. It's on our backs right now because we're hearing in the news that they're going to start to put mandates back in place for masks and mandates back in place to, like, how far will the mandates go? Will it really take us back to what we experienced in the beginning?
Look, if we extended and stayed in quarantine a lot longer than we did, that would have helped, reduce some of the versions of the coronavirus that we have now. Now, you know, I said versions with an S because everybody keeps talking about the Delta variant. Let me tell you something. As soon as they announced that it was called the Delta variant, what's the next letter? C? I don't know how to say that one. Let's go to K. Kappa. Let's go to right?
We're going to blame it on the Kappa.
And let's go to Sigma.
We're going to get a Delta to break. Actually, Gamma comes after Delta.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, look at, she corrected me. Gamma, right? So we got Gamma, then you got Kappa, then you got Sigma. All 40s are probably already in transition if they're not already here once they made that announcement of the Delta variant. The other problem is that you have the other part of the world. So you got Africa and all these other countries that are considered, or they have areas, but not all of Africa is third world, but they have areas of third world countries, and they don't have the vaccine because who bought up all the vaccine in the market? Your President Biden and unfortunately my Vice President Kamala from Howard. And I don't know what's the release process of getting that to. Normally, when you buy something like that and it has to be distributed to the World Health, to the countries, the World Health Organization is in charge of that, of making sure that they take receipt of that vaccine and distribute it as needed to all the other places in the world that can't really afford it. So I don't know what's holding up that process as well. I will say that the damage that some of you guys. Previous President Trump, I would never claim that as my president, but your previous former President Trump, the damage that he did to our reputation and how he acted a fool is having repercussions on what's going on right now.
Hey, Ted, I have a question for you. So you talked when you first opened up about 3 groups who basically need to get themselves together. You know, we know about the healthy folks. We all know somebody who says they don't want to get it and all the reasons why. You talked about the government. And we've seen them just kind of capitulate, you know, on what to do, what not to do, based on the administration or whatever's going on, the flavor of the day. But first, you mentioned the scientists. Mm-hmm. So what's going on with scientists? Are there difference of opinions out there? What's the deal with them?
I don't think there's a difference of opinions. As we know, scientists work for businesses called biotechs and pharmaceutical companies, and those companies determine what their employees can actually do and how much they can save. And who they can partner with as individuals, individuals, but employees of that company. So I'm willing to bet, you know, that you got Pfizer, you got Moderna, you got Johnson & Johnson in the U.S., you got AstraZeneca, and whatever the hell Russia got that we're not taking over there. But these scientists don't necessarily have the free liberty to collaborate and share data. We know data is very expensive, right? So every time, like France, I think shut down about 4 or 5 times if they're open now. I know that because we almost had a customer over and the project literally got killed. Did not go through because France was closed. We lost that customer. But these are the things that preventing these scientists from talking to each other. Either they don't want to work with us or they're not allowed to work with us. And so when you have these countries like India, France, and all these other countries that are already had different versions, kept shutting down. China kept shutting down. I got the insight on that. When they said they was open, they were lying. They were not open. It was still a great majority of the parts that was shut down, and they never got rid of the mandate to remove to wear a mask. That mandate was still in place then, and still in place now. And so when you have somebody as a world leader like U.S. that previously during Trump pissed off the whole world. Right. Shaming everyone, knocking everybody off, and literally Trump saying it was a Chinese disease, then these scientists are not going to want to work with us and talk with us. And so now everybody else is kind of in their bubble trying to figure this thing out. Whereas if they worked in a more collaborative effort to share data when the Delta or whatever level it is now first appeared in those countries prior to getting over here, then we would have had a more robust vaccine in the very beginning, right? And then even before that, right? Before me and you even knew that that COVID-19 was even here, right? Trump had already pissed everybody off, and he fired the department that monitors these things for, what they call biological warfare. He fired the team and he embarrassed us. So when you fire the team and embarrass us, who the hell was going to talk to China? Or how much time are they going to talk to our scientists and say, hey, this shit is coming over? They weren't going to say nothing to us.
Right.
Wow.
And isn't it by, and help me, like, because when I'm thinking about this virus, and you're right. I mean, that's very unfortunate that we're not working more collaboratively around the world, because the truth is we could probably, really, I mean, if you want to talk about trying to eradicate something or, really get a handle on it, the best way to do that is by bringing all those minds together. And we're not doing that.
Right.
But I'm also thinking, just by nature, like we talked about, where it was like, okay, we've got COVID, and after we do this, COVID's going to be all gone. I never thought that. I'm sure there's a lot of people didn't think that, because I'm thinking in terms of something being a virus. Like I think of the flu virus, where there's a vaccine that comes out every year for the flu, but if that's not the strain you get, you might still get the flu. And I'm thinking that, is that similar? Right. It's a virus, and viruses are always going to mutate. And this just might be one of those that's always around, because now that it's here, it's always going to be around. And people are going to, just like the flu vaccine, have the option to take it or not take it. But, the flu, I mean, you've got lots of people who take that by choice. But now, because everybody's being so suspicious of, being inserted with a microchip or something, that they think that's what's happening with getting a COVID vaccine. But again, I'm just thinking, I mean, isn't that just the nature of viruses? It's going to be here, and you're going to have different variations of it. And it's really just a matter of, as years go on, developing a vaccine for the strain that you think is going to be most prevalent. Is that kind of how that works?
First of all, I'm going to applaud you, because see, I ain't even got to say that. You had already said it for me. But guess what the sad part is? Can I curse on here as much as I want? Yeah, you
can.
Most motherfuckers don't know that. They don't want to know that. And it's not just people of color or people in underserved communities outside of that. I had literally. So when we did the announcement of our first customer, LucasPye BIO, last week, after one of those events, we went out for drinks. Literally, it is a table full of Black scientists, engineers, geneticists, all at this table, chilling, drinking beer, doing what we do. I don't get into the whole thing. But the thing is, it was a white man sitting across from us and telling us that, the COVID-19 virus is gone. I lived in Florida. I didn't catch it, and I live on a boat, and, the sun kills it. I looked at him. I said, dude, go ahead, drink it. I don't think you want to say that to us. Just do what you do. And he repeated it about 3-4 times. And then I stood up. I said, dude, you're talking to a table full of scientists, engineers, and geneticists. So it is incorrect. We don't want to listen to you. Go home.
So
that white guy represents the general public. They think the sun go burning. I had somebody tell me to pour some burning water on my damn self and add a drop of orange juice to it because it got citric acid. Just stupid. I can't say it was stupid shit. And so to Kay's point, how bad is it going to get? It's going to get very bad, but it's not going to shut down the economy. But it is going to get bad where they're going to start restricting people that if you don't show that damn vaccination card, you're not getting in. Right?
Yeah.
Or when you bring your kid to school for the very first time, or even not even that, when you change schools in a different city or in a different state, they're going to ask you, where are your shot records? Right? Don't nobody see nothing wrong with that in a HIPAA fashion, right?
Exactly.
You want that toddler or the high school student to get their ass out your house. When you show them, that's the first. You got that on top. You got the shot records on top of the damn transcripts for the grade. Just say, no, this motherfucker is acceptable. He or she is ready to go. So that's what it's going to be going forward. You're going to have to use that to get on the airplane. You're going to have to use it probably to go to public events. And then you're probably going to use it to go in, some of these public stores, grocery stores, or whatever. That's just the way it's going to be. And so for people to think that they're putting a microchip, you don't think they're putting a microchip in you when you get the flu shot. You don't think they're putting a microchip in you when you're getting your shots for school. More importantly, when y'all, black lives travel, we get our ass to Mexico, Greece, Africa, where are we going? Do we have a problem getting that shot then? No questions asked. We're there with the passport, ready.
Right. So what does that mean for and I don't even want to get into whether it's the Black community or any other community with this whole vaccine thing, because I think across the board it's across the board that people are not taking this thing as serious as it is, even though we've watched over 500,000 people die. And I keep saying to myself, so I don't understand your rationale when you say I'm not getting the shot, but then you watch 500,000 people die, and I'm trying to figure out, what do you think they're dying from? Like, what are they dying from? And if they're saying they're dying from COVID, and they're saying here's a vaccine, and I think that media plays a huge part in it, because what we hear, we believe. So when the media tells us, the problem with this vaccine is that it takes 15 years to actually make a vaccine that's effective, but then they're not adding that biotech has changed the world so that it doesn't necessarily take 15 years anymore. It may take however long it takes. But when you hear that, you're like, oh man, yeah, I don't know if I should take that. If it actually takes 15 years to make a vaccine, why would I take a vaccine? So everybody's playing into everything that they're hearing. And that is the media. That's the issue with the media and the news and the information, social media. The information they're putting out there is what's putting the fear of God in people. Number two, I think that people don't get it because, you know what? Some people are idiots, and they're feeling like, if I do this, I lose control of making decisions for my life because somebody's telling me to do this. So, I just think that we're in trouble. We are in trouble if we don't.
I think we have a component too. We like to blame the media a lot, but information is my responsibility, right? I have to figure out what's going on. So if I get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine, I have, of course, and I'll get it, when the next booster comes, I'm right up in line.
Absolutely.
But we have to be responsible for our information. If I'm listening to my uncle and what I see on Facebook, my information is going to be real limited. If I only listen to CNN, it's going to be just what CNN gets. Like, we have to be responsible. Right. We have to pick up a book and read. Facebook does not take the place of reading a bona fide article from somewhere. You can subscribe to this.
But most of the world, a lot of the world are idiots. They're not going to read anything. They're going to believe exactly what they hear that somebody tells you. Because I believe this. I believe that, and people may deny it all day long, but when people wake up in the morning, all they want is for somebody to tell them what to do.
They want to be spoon-fed information.
They want somebody to tell them what to do.
To me.
And even that's what I would do.
You've got to have a level of common sense too. Like you talk about, where you get your information and being responsible for information, but there's also got to be a level of common sense. I know that back when the flu first came and it took 20, 30 years, whatever, to create a flu vaccine, I would be really annoyed if I can walk around with a computer in my hand and it's still taking you 15, 20 years to create a vaccine. Just common sense tells me it shouldn't take that long with all the advancements we've made in science and technology. I would be really annoyed if I had to walk around in a mask for 20 years because scientists couldn't come together and figure out a vaccine. To me, that's just common sense. I don't even need anything to tell me that.
It's common sense, but again, it's also, this is what a role to the biotech, and I'll say that again in a minute, but the role of your federal government started all this shit in the very beginning. You had Trump fire the name. Then when he finally won technology, he told motherfuckers to put bleach and shit.
Right.
Bleach and stuff.
Is there a way to inject bleach?
Right. At the highest seat, telling people this, feeding people this bullshit. So anything after that, he had already laid the foundation, right? His peers of the federal government are so fucking annoyed. So what should have happened, what could have happened, is if he did not fire that team, they would have got with FDA. They would have negotiated that deal that they did negotiate to say, hey, we're going to give you what they call orphan approval or emergency approval to get this drug out there. You don't need all these patients. You only need this. They need to do these steps or whatever. They would have came up with a plan, okay? And then that way, if we had the right person in office, they would have sat there through a emergency press conference and laid it all out for you, just like JFK did back in the day, just like Obama always did, just like Bill Clinton always did. All these cats, whenever something came along, sat down with the team, with the experts, and would have gave it up front. But because you had so many people fighting to have their voice as the expert, with Trump sitting back and like, I don't know, it's not real. Oh, let me get some of that bleach and put it down my throat. The scientists over here fighting, but they can't really get the data that they need because it's still a business at the end of the day, and our reputation is shot. It's a whole mix of things, but the federal government at the top is the ones to blame for all this shit happening.
Right. Because there's a political component on top of it. You know, we talk about that. It's not just about science and healthcare. Right. There's a whole level of politics that's laying on top of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, and I know that I'm a firm believer that, yes, people who control their lives and people who have some sensibility and some common sense will determine, you know what, this just makes sense. You have a virus that comes out that hits. This wasn't just a neighborhood or a cultural virus or a city or even a country. This thing was worldwide. And I do not understand what people did not understand about this being worldwide. And then you have the other folks that saying, oh no, listen, I had a doctor say to me, don't take the vaccine because, you know, some people are naturalists. So they believe, yeah, I can do this natural thing. You know, and I don't have to take the vaccine because I do this natural thing. And that will keep me, that will keep me from getting COVID-19. And then proceeds to tell me that there's a pill that you can walk into CVS and get that will stop you from but this is what I mean about information. Because now if you tell somebody who's vulnerable and already on the edge, who can't really think for themselves in that sense, you tell them, listen, don't get it because you know what? People who made it don't know what they're doing. And on top of that, you can live a natural kind of life. It's based on what you eat. And if you put some castor oil along with some, you know, cinnamon and, you know, and a little lemon juice,
don't forget ginger. You need turmeric and ginger in that motherfucker.
Exactly. You can actually stop yourself from getting COVID. When you start saying things like that, people begin to believe that. When you start saying, oh, and I said to her, so let me get this straight. There's a pill in CVS, and nobody told us there's a pill in CVS. So
CVS ain't even telling us that.
What is the pill? Is it in the vitamin aisle or the natural?
Right. CVS ain't said nothing. Nobody has said anything about the pill in CVS that you can walk in there and get and take it. And listen, it was the weirdest conversation. And I thought to myself, this is what's wrong with the world. Wow. It's because our minds and what we absorb and what we pay attention to and what we respond to is serious. Mm-hmm. This thing is serious because all these people who are walking around saying, I know I'm walking in this store, I may have the virus, I don't even know because I'm never getting tested and I'm not putting no mask on. What are you thinking? What's happening in your head? Not getting the vaccine, not putting a mask on, don't care at all. Mm-hmm. Just don't.
And you know, another thing about this is people can't see it. And you know, we got a lot of people in this country, you know, the rugged individualism, and I believe in my freedoms and all kind of stuff. Okay, you can't see this COVID. It's not like you get, you know, it's an obvious sign that you have it, and people don't believe what they can't see. I'm covering up the mask on. I had a neighbor telling me because he's an at-home scientist. You know, he brews beer in his basement and he does science in there. And he was telling me over the gate. He's telling me over the gate because you know, if you wear the mask, that's what makes you sick. because you're breathing back in your air and you're recycling it and it goes in.
Oh yeah, that was one of the original things that people said.
But this is what I mean by information and how we receive it. And I think that plays a huge role, no matter whether you're getting it from your neighbor or you're getting it from social media or you're getting it from the news, you're getting it from wherever. This is what the issue is. And honestly, I do marketing for a living. If you ask me about marketing, I'll be able to tell you just about anything you need to know about marketing. But if you ask me about science, if you ask me about vaccines, I don't know about that. So I have to trust the people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to educate themselves, okay, to get the knowledge that we do not have, and provide that to us. And we have to trust that in some sense, because at least they've been educated in it. And they know what they're doing. And at the end of the day, I can't imagine that big companies like Pfizer and Moderna and even Johnson & Johnson will make something that will kill us all.
It wouldn't even have gotten approved.
What
It wouldn't.
What in the world? And people will not do it. People will not do it. What is it that we don't know about this Delta variant? What don't we know?
A lot of shit we don't know. That's why it's still transforming shit.
Right. That's why you're going to have Gamma.
Right.
You're gonna have Gamma. We don't know anything about Delta.
Right, Chi. That's X, right, Chi? You gonna have all that shit.
Right. You have the entire Greek alphabet by the time we're done.
We're not getting samples from Africa and Europe and China and all these other countries. We're not talking to each other. They damn sure ain't giving shit to the US. They laughing at us. They already told Biden to his face when he went over there. What was that, a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, that you got race problems, bro. We ain't messing with you. Straight up said it in so many words, just like that.
Right.
That's the problem.
So we know that clinical trials today, most clinical trials are done on white males. Is that correct?
They still are. The majority of them are done on white males, and it's not because they are purposely excluding us. It's because you don't want to take the time to go to where we're at to recruit us. You think it's too much money because the majority of us still take public transportation. I can say that, right? We already know that the majority of people of color in their communities do not have the same graces or opportunities as white male, period. Not even white females. So that's just what it is. It's purely a money play. I need to get this drug on the market. I'm trying to beat somebody else to the market. How quickly can I recruit for these clinical trials and get through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 to beat that competitor out in the market? And this is not just a competitor within the U.S. This may be a competitor in another country that's also trying to enter the U.S. market. Every country has their own version of FDA to be in their market. And we already know that U.S. is the number one market for pharmaceutical drugs or biopharmaceutical drugs. Because it's basically like a free agent to a certain extent. And what I mean by that, we're the only country that markets drugs to patients on TV and magazine and social media. Any other country does no marketing whatsoever, and they also do price control. We don't do price control over here. Hell, the FDA gets paid off the damn drug when it's in the market after it's approved. It is 1.8 till about $2.5 million that Moderna, Pfizer, take your pick, as to pay annually for each product on the market. If you are a company in Europe and you want to put a drug over here, you're paying that annual fee for each product that you have in the U.S. market. That's why everybody's running over here. That's why it's such a fight. That's why that's why U.S. bought that damn drug and they're not passing it out like they should, or whatever the holdup is between the representation piece and the financial piece of it.
Wow.
Think about it. Moderna and them already made billions. They made billions of dollars in less than a year. We're not even at a full 2-year mark because the government spent all that money. So if the government, look at that shit though. If the government can cut basically a blank check to pay for all these dosages, including taking up all the shit off the global market after that, look at how much else they can pay for it. So all that shit that you're talking about, you can't give somebody a stipend or a salary at minimum to try to remove homelessness. All that shit you can't get rid of education, FAFSA, financial aid loans. Like my ass got over $200,000 in financial aid loans. You can't get rid of that shit for me, but you just wrote a blank multi-billion-dollar check to pay for this drug. When half of this shit, over 90% of this shit concerning the coronavirus could have been eliminated had you done things like take care of your people, got rid of homelessness, education, all this stuff, so they can have the same access to healthcare and have the same access to
Right.
make themselves.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about, like we said at the time, we're talking about washing your damn hands. Speaking of which, listen to this stupid ass shit. Did you hear about, get his name right. My friend sent me this shit. Fucking Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis say they don't believe in bathing their kids or themselves.
Yes, I read that. I read that.
But he looks dirty. But see, I'm not shocked, but he looked dirty.
When they appear to look fucking dirty.
Yep.
Well, you know how long they can take for a kid to appear to look dirty? Because what's the first thing that you notice when you know your kid is dirty? You smell that motherfucker from a mile away. They can look clean as a whistle, just like baby kids. They have a whole ass turd back there hanging or snot. You know what I mean? Like, you smell the armpits. They don't wear deodorant at that age. They should, but whatever.
But you know what? I just, when it comes to, and that's why when you
Y'all gotta laugh at this shit. These are adults.
You know what? I'm gonna say this.
I read that story twice because I was like, "Is that real? Is that real?"
We talk about wanting to go over and dig wells in Africa and feed the children in China. Wash your babies. Let's start with that. Get a bar of soap and wash your kids. Wash their hands. Get them vaccinated. These are some of the basics. That's nasty.
And it's generational, because these grown ass motherfuckers their parents went through this as well, and their parents did this as well.
But I also say this though. I think a lot of people doing this stupid shit just to get some kind of, more followers or more, people taking note, because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous for you to say as an adult that I don't bathe my kids. Like, that is completely insane. I don't know what their game is. I don't know what they're looking for, whether they're looking for more followers or they're looking for more people to, become their friends. I don't know what that is.
They just ruin their kids making friends. Who wants to be the kid or the parent where the parent missed that they watched it? So they parents say, you don't bring that little stanky ass motherfucker over here.
And listen, those two dirty ass adults found each other. Because
this is what I'm saying. So, and I'm talking about, these are adult people, and so I don't buy into their bullshit, because you're adult people and you're not stupid. And this whole thing of you putting out there that you don't wash your kids, which is going to send people in a tizzy and an uproar, talking about your stupid ass making this stupid decision. Because first of all, give me a choice as a child. Don't do that shit to me until I can make that choice for myself. If I don't want to wash my ass, then I want to be able to determine that myself. But don't do that to me as a kid.
Well, here's the other thing that I'm on a question too. So if you don't wash your kids as much, are you just washing them? Because y'all know y'all parents. I ain't no parent yet, but y'all go to the doctor several times throughout the growth of the baby into the toddler stage. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So as Black people, we get to the doctor. I mean, the kid can literally have a fucking mosquito bite. They are on your ass to make sure you are not.
They will write you up a scratch on the face. There's notes in the
Snatch the kid. You shouldn't have them out past dark. You need the off spray or whatever the fuck is. Like, they gonna lean into your ass for one mark. So you mean to tell me when these white kids came to the doctor, they were smelling like that? You let Ashton Kutcher and his wife, whatever, just fucking walks out of there, and you just
Ashton Kutcher. Because Ashton Kutcher. Because when I was in school, you got sent a note home. If you came in smelling, a teacher sent a note home to your parent. Mrs. Smith.
To your clothes, saying you might want to take care.
Jamal was a little tart today.
Jamal was a little tart.
He was a little spicy. He was a little spicy as the late Bertie Mac was.
But I think a lot of it is actually trying to get some type of attention somehow, some way, because all of that is completely ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And we're in the middle of a pandemic where germs and cleanliness is,
Right.
germs are
And
running
you talking about you
rampant.
not washing your kids in the
Exactly.
middle of a
And you're not
pandemic.
washing your kids.
Until they appear dirty.
But
Once they're dirty, they're fine. Okay.
but not only that, you don't even
Pride takes care of that.
you're not even taking into consideration other people's kids or somebody who has to deal with that. If you don't want to wash your kids, homeschool them.
My thing is,
Do not send their ass to
your kid got a nanny. Are you telling the nanny purposely don't wash your kids? Because your ass really ain't even got to wash it. You got a nanny.
But I will say this though. I think that, if we are headed back to what was, and I don't know if it will be to the extent where we were when the pandemic first happened.
It won't.
But
you think we will?
I think it won't, because the federal, look at them. We knew, if you pay attention, I already knew we was in inflation. We've been in inflation since we started this year. Okay. We've been in inflation. Now they just now announcing, a couple weeks ago, we're in inflation. Now they're announcing, we only have 2 more weeks and then inflation will level off. That's what this shit, these motherfuckers
let me ask you a question. So, how long does it really take today with modern technology to create a vaccine that's effective?
To create a vaccine, to create it doesn't take any time at all, right? It may take a couple of months, 6 months, 8 months, or whatever, just to make sure that it actually works in what we call a wet lab. So this is like what they say in vitro, in the petri dish, whatever you want to call it, on a slide. You test it out and you make sure that it works. And then it takes you maybe about 6 to almost 12 months to take it from there and actually test it in animals and get that data. Okay, and then you go to FDA to get permission to test in human clinical trials. So that little period from what I just described, from the wet lab to the animals, can really be done in as little as 6 to maybe 18 months, depending on what type of drug it is, depending, what's going on as far as what current medicines are on the market and how much better yours is. The problem with getting the drug to market is not on Big Pharma, because we know they got billions of dollars. So they need to do something in a couple of days, they could. At the time, FDA, and still is, right? FDA is still in control, right? They can slow you down and force you to do shit, or they can, give you some breaks here and there like they did for COVID-19 and speed shit up. It really is the FDA.
Wow.
And I would say even more now, because now you got the federal government. But prior to this, you've never seen the federal government just blankly write a check for something that we needed. Now, they probably did it back in the 20s when the flu shit and all that shit was out or whatever. But they never just wrote a blank check. I've had the measles booster shot, right? I've had to get that 3 or 4 times in my life, and I'm only 37, spread out. But it's because the shit kept coming back when I was a kid. And then when I grew up in Houston. When I moved from Houston to Atlanta, the shit had an outbreak there. So when we got there, me and my sister had to get the shot again. Like I'm saying, like that stuff, like I don't remember them writing. You remember to write a blank check for your ass to get a measles a month shot or whatever? No.
I'm thinking like maybe polio was the last time, or maybe what was the one that everybody had what was the one?
Polio and tuberculosis was the last
thing that we had like this.
That they sat there and wrote out a blank check. And when you look at those times, FDA wasn't even as sophisticated as it is now, right? So it really is the FDA and the federal government that controls this process of how long the drug gets on the market. And like I said, the federal government makes money because you have that annual fee that you have to pay to FDA, which is a part of the federal government, to keep the product in the market. And that's for devices and drugs.
Wow.
So you think moving forward, as we begin to wrap up, you think that moving forward, what's really going to be the deal is just like we carry our driver's license and our passports, we're going to need to carry that vaccination card.
You're going to need to carry that vaccination card, and you're going to have to start wearing masks back in these public areas where we're at every day. School, the offices, they start to go back to work, they're going to mandate it. And you got to think about it. The kids under 12 don't even have the ability to take a vaccine. It's not
right to get a vaccine.
Right? It's a lot. You can get through adults a lot faster. They can make that decision themselves. It's different when you're asking and testing somebody's child and they have to get permission to do that. And at this point, there are a lot more healthy children than there are sick. And we've had some. I've had some. Right? I've had a 4-year-old die in my family for COVID-19. But you don't have that many kids contracting it at the rate that adults contract it. So you would never have enough of a subset to test that drug on that is healthy. There's a lot of parents. If the parents don't even take the vaccine, you think they volunteer their kids to be tested?
Can I just ask a real quick question? We talk about the vaccine. Where are we at with drugs that actually treat, the symptoms of COVID?
Well, that's what you got now, right? Because you still got people that's been able to contract COVID-19. They already got the vaccine. I've had 2 family members on the ventilator. I think both of them were vaccinated with different types of vaccines, and they still got it. But both came out. They eventually came out, luckily. But as far as the symptoms and stuff, that was the purpose of this vaccine, was to prevent you from getting it. And what people kept neglecting, that if you do get it, you won't get the symptoms. It will lessen it.
So, but I'm going to ask that question again. So there's no medication. So if you get COVID, it's not like there's not like an Advil. There's not like an Advil or,
Viruses cannot be cured. That is the rule of thumb. Everybody knows that. I mean, actually, y'all still get the common cold?
Yes, we get the colds,
Exactly.
Right.
It's a virus.
Right. I just want to put that out there for the people that doctor said there's a pill at CVS. There's not one.
So there's not a pill.
So don't go ask for.
You're saying there's no pill.
You can never say you cure the virus. We can only say that we can treat the virus and treat the symptoms of a virus. You cannot cure. So that's why Magic Johnson, people like to say he's been cured of HIV. No, he's been treated very well for HIV, where it's at levels that are undetectable. That does not mean it's not in his system. Same way with Cookie, his wife. I don't know her whole story, or what her whole medical team or medical plan is. But from the day that Magic Johnson got diagnosed, and remember she was pregnant with EJ when he got diagnosed with HIV, I am willing to bet that for the rest of their life, Cookie and EJ specifically has to be tested for HIV on a regular basis.
Wow.
Because there is no cure. There's only a treatment. And that virus can go sleep in you guys. It can stay there, and it can stay there for a long, long time undetected until it's ready to ramp up. And it'll ramp up, and then all of a sudden you might not, like, God forbid, with Cookie and EJ, they haven't had it. I don't know how Cookie is, 60 something, maybe, whatever. So let's say I'm 37. Let's say at least the last 30 years, she hasn't had the virus. But that doesn't mean that thing can't resurface next year, and all of a sudden she got it. And same with EJ. Essentially, his whole life, the virus will be sitting there, and EJ is whatever, mid 20s.
Mid-20s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now, is that the same case for COVID? Like, we're sitting here and all of us are vaccinated.
It's all viruses.
We could wake up one morning and the symptoms hit us, and we're like, boom, we got COVID.
Yep, that's the same thing, right? You can be in the house with your kids, and the mom gets sick, the dad will never get sick, and then the dad may get sick 2 weeks later, but everybody in the house is cured. I mean, everybody else is cured. Everybody else is treated and feeling better.
Right.
2 weeks later.
Wow. I can't even thank you enough for, hanging out with us one more time, honey.
Yeah, I love it.
Because listen, you keep it raw and real, okay? Raw and real.
I can't come in here not ready. Shit. Y'all run me down the virtual room. Shoot.
Listen, for those of you who tuned in and checked out this episode, Tia, tell people how they can follow you.
Follow me on Instagram, Lyles Williams, Twitter, Lyles Williams, or my favorite, LinkedIn. The company LucasPye BIO is at LucasPye BIO on all those social media platforms. But I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you DM me, you have me a question, I'll answer it. 9 times out of 10, I'll probably send you a video or a diagram to further add credibility to that answer, so you can educate yourself further on why my response is my response to that question.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate you for real, honey. For real.
I know. Thank you so much.
This is another episode of the GYST, because when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness and the vaccine, sometimes you just need a moment to get your shit together. So as for the Delta variant, Gamma variant, Pi variant, whatever it is, okay, get your shit together and get that vaccine and get yourself, get it together, because it's not just about you, it's about other people too, and the people that you love. And that to me is worth it all day long. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Val and Stephanie, always. And we will see you guys next time on the GYST.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.